What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So last week I reviewed the Polk R100 bookshelf speaker. We did an aggregate style review. I took you through everything, but in those aggregate style reviews, I don't have time to go through comparisons because those videos can get quite long on their own. So I've decided every now and then when I feel it's relevant to the product or I've got something to say about comparisons, we'll make a separate video. So here we are today with that. So let's just jump into it. You can see on the TV behind me, we've got a bunch of speakers. I've reviewed all of them except Dynaudio EMIT 10 2021 version. Most of them are around the same price except the Focal Core 806. That's quite a bit more expensive by about 50%. It's in the just under $1,000 range. The Polk R100 is $649. Elac DBR62, I got it written down. I knew I was going to forget. That bad boy is $699. The Monitor Audio Bronze 100 right here is $675, and the Dynaudio EMIT 10 is about $800. So let's jump into these comparisons. So the Polk R100, fantastic speaker. I like it a lot. Its closest sounding competitor is going to be the Elac DBR62. That speaker and the Polk R100, they're more similar than different, boys. They really are. Some obvious differences are going to be the size. The Elac DBR62's cabinet is much larger. Its driver's a little bit larger as well, being 6.5 versus the Polk R100's 5.25. The Polk R100 does come in a larger R200 model, so I guess that's kind of a moot point. But let's jump back to this comparison. So again, keep in mind, these speakers are more similar than different. These differences I'm going to talk about right now, I'm really putting a magnifying glass on some small differences, so stay with me. Both speakers up top give you decent detail. They're fairly refined for the price point, but the Elac is going to have a sharper presentation. If you're not the most careful with system matching, you could end up with some sibilance, which I don't like so much. The Polk R100 does not suffer from this, so I'm going to give the edge to the Polk R100 with respect to its top end or treble range, right? Both gave me great detail, both imaged well, you know what I mean? None of them had anything bad going on up there. In fact, they were quite good with their respect to like detail imaging and all those kinds of things. Again, just with the Elac DBR62, a little bit tilted up more than the Polk R100, a little bit sharp, a little bit unrefined, if you will, at times, again, depending on system matching, whereas the Polk R100 does seem to be quite a bit more forgiving. Moving down to the mid-range, both speakers have a really, really good mid-range, guys. Warm, luscious, full sounding, great vocal presentation where it's going to project into the room. We're going to have a bunch of air and space around the singer. There's going to be a sense of realism. Both speakers really nailed the mid-range. The slight difference here is going to be, and this is a really slight difference, the Polk Reserve R100 does do it a little bit better. That space around the singer, a little bit more of it. That projecting into the room, a little bit more of that. Sense of realism, a little bit more of that. Any way you can describe that mid-range being just a little bit better, the Polk R100 is just a little bit better overall than the Elac DBR62 with respect to its mid-range. A little bit warmer, a little bit more tonally rich, and so on. Moving down to the bass, let's start with the mid-bass first. The Polk R100 does not have a mid-bass bump, whereas the Elac DBR62 does have a slight mid-bass bump. So bass is going to go to the Elac DBR62 for being a little bit better. It's got better note-to-note distinction, a little bit better bass texture, a little bit fuller sounding. It's obviously a lot larger, no surprise there. But I would say both speakers will benefit from having a subwoofer. With the Elac DBR62, since it has that mid-bass bump, I could see some users saying, you know what, the bass is tactile, it's impactful, that's good enough for me, I don't need a subwoofer. Whereas the Polk R100, I'm gonna say it's really mandatory. I'll be honest, guys, almost all bookshelf speakers really do need a subwoofer to really sound their best. I've yet to hear a pair of bookshelf speakers that don't sound better with a subwoofer added. But the Elac DBR62 does take the edge in bass. So to summarize, both speakers sound very, very similar to each other. They're voiced in a very similar manner. From the mid-range on up to the treble, the Polk R100 is the better speaker. From the bass down, the Elac DBR62 is better in that region. So whichever one is more important to you, I would say go for that one. I think mid-range is the most important thing, and for that reason, I would choose the Polk R100. Now, moving on to these other speakers I've got on the screen. Now, I could say the same for all of these on the bottom row, because all three on the bottom row are the total opposite with respect to their sound signature. Whether it be the Focal Core 806, the Monitor Audio Bronze 100, or the Dynaudio EMIT 10. Those three speakers, by direct comparison, are going to be more extended up top, more detailed, more analytical. Their mid-range is going to be a little bit cooler sounding. You're going to describe these speakers as more being great technically, but you would not describe these bottom 3 speakers as being warm, tonally rich, and things like that. You just would not use those words. I like these bottom 3 speakers a lot. I have all of these here except the Focal Cora 806. I parted ways with those a while ago. But I'll take you through the difference. Let's do it. Let's do the Bronze 100. So the Elac, not Elac, we just did the Elac, geez. The Polk R100 versus the Monitor Audio Bronze 100. The Monitor Audio Bronze 100, let's start again with physical size. Big difference here. It's got an 8-inch driver, a much larger cabinet. It is the biggest speaker in this group here. They are similar in price. What was the Monitor Audio Bronze 100? $675, so about $25 difference. They're about the same, right? Who cares about $25? So it's pretty simple here. If, bass is super important to you, you're definitely not going to use a subwoofer. That 8-inch driver on the Bronze 100 is going to give you a significant advantage, but let's start at the top end. Both speakers have a good presentation up top. The Polk R100 is going to have a little bit of a warmer and richer sound up top, where the Monitor Audio Bronze 100 is going to be a little bit more technical, a little bit cooler, a little bit dry sounding at times. And I would say overall is going to be more like theater voicing, if you will. I don't know how else to say it. I think you guys know what I mean though. Moving down to the mid-range, both speakers do it well, but they do it in 2 totally different ways. They both image killer good, but the Bronze 100 is going to be, again, cooler, a little bit drier by direct comparison to the warmer, tonally rich sound of the Polk R100. The one big advantage the Bronze 100 has over the Polk R100 is going to be dialogue clarity. If you're going to use speakers for a mixed system, you're playing video games, you're watching movies, anime, Netflix, and music, it's hard, man, because they got similar names, a lot of these speakers. Like this got 100 in it, this has 100 in it. Like it just gets annoying. Man, I almost jumped over my words again. Okay, dialogue clarity is so good on the Monitor Audio Bronze 100 that if that is important to you, if you want just the best under $1,000, I haven't heard better dialogue clarity under $1,000. So, is it time to talk about the bass? Yeah, it's time to talk about the bass. And actually, let me rehash the mid-range real quick. I'm losing track of what I'm saying here. Jeez. Okay, so again, both great mid-range, voiced the total opposites. R100, warm. Monitor Audio Bronze 100, not warm. Moving down to the bass, neither one has a mid-bass bump, but again, the Monitor Audio Bronze 100, having that larger driver is simply just going to take the edge in all categories with respect to bass. That's just really, really simple, right? If I was doing a music-only system, I'd go for the Polk R100. If I was doing a mixed system, I'd probably go for the Monitor Audio Bronze 100 for that killer dialogue clarity and that fuller, just more impactful and powerful bass that those 8-inch drivers can produce. So I'm not going to do a direct comparison to the Dynaudio Emit 10 because I haven't reviewed that one yet. The Focal Cora 806 is the most expensive one. It's almost $1,000 for the pair. I don't think anyone's going to be cross-shopping those. So that's basically it, guys. The Polk R100 is a fantastic speaker. I like it a lot. I think it's got a sound a lot of people are going to like. I do want to mention one thing. If you liked all the pros I talked about from all the speakers, like, the Focal Cora 806, it's got like a killer low volume performance and great detail, the best of the bunch. The Monitor Audio Bronze 100 has that killer dialogue clarity. The Dynaudio Emit 10 has just got a great technical performance from top to bottom. The Elac DBR62 has got great bass note-to-note distinction. The Polk R100 just got a great mid-range. And if you're like, man, can I just have a speaker that has all of that? The answer is yes, but. And the but is it costs a lot more. Bucard S400 Mark II does most of those things. Great, fantastic, phenomenal. But at $2,300, it's about 3 times the price. So what I would suggest to you, if you're between some of these speakers, is find the thing that is not such a big deal to you, right? For example, if you already have a killer pair of subwoofers, or just one killer subwoofer, then the Monitor Audio Bronze 100's 8-inch driver is not so important to you. So maybe you like that richer tonal character of something like the Elac DBR62 or Polk R100 instead. Or maybe you're just a low volume listener. That's the most important thing to you. Well, the Focal Core 806 is killer at that, right? So you got to find what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you, right? Because there's no sense in paying for something that a speaker does, like, you know, say that there was a speaker, for example, that was just like the most extended top end, just the most detail. I don't care so much about that. I want enough detail that it doesn't sound bad, but I don't need that hyper-realistic detail. So if I bought a speaker like that, a lot of my money would be going to waste because that's not what I want. I want a good mid-range, and I want good bass, and I want treble that's smooth. That's kind of what I want, right? So anyhow, I think I've told you about as much as I wanted to tell you guys. We do have a Discord for the channel. Feel free to join that. Links in the description below. I've reviewed everything on the screen. I'll leave links to those videos below. Also, the Dynaudio EMIT 10 has not been reviewed yet. That will come in a future video. If you have any questions, ask in the comments below or in the Discord server. Until next time, later.